You know, now that the world has had its hands on Super Mario RPG Remake, I decided to weigh in. As some of you know, I've had this game 27 years now. I felt like a damn king reading the back of the box in the manual. While my childhood version of this game was lost due to a hurricane hitting my parents' house, and them tossing all my retro stuff, I have it on physical. I had to get it back. That was before they announced this remake. Let's get to the question at hand here. Which version of the game is a definitive version now? Which version is the one you would wish for now that Star Road is repaired? Subscribe if you want, but be an edgelord as well, and avoid subscribing for the extra Reddit mod points. So in order to kick this off, I want to start with the Switch. Let's go through the pros here. So obviously the graphics are massively improved. The colors just pop. It's such a faithful recreation of the original sprite work. It's just unbelievable. It feels like I'm playing the same game, or basically how I remember it in my head. Improved music and sound is massive here. The music has been built on, but it still feels very authentic to the actual original soundtracks. That is because they have the original composer, and it really shows here. It's amazing, but I like the ability to be able to switch back and forth into the menu. That's super cool. The cutscenes, folks, these cutscenes almost belong in like a World of Warcraft trailer. You know, they're just so good. They're so clean and crisp. It's basically how I remember the game in my head. Swap out mechanic. This kind of shocked me. This was not something that was advertised. All of a sudden, one of my members dies or goes to sleep, and I can swap in Bowser, I can swap in Geno, depending on who I'm using. I thought that was a really neat mechanic, but I do think it makes it a little bit easy. The triple super moves are such a cool addition. It's kind of like Chrono Trigger with its triple text. And you can actually swap these abilities out. If you got your bar set to 100, you can actually swap in characters to get the move that you want. Very cool. I have to talk about the cute level up dance. It's absolutely adorable. I think it's like an old 60s game show. It's so neat. I friggin' love it. This brought a fantastic game to a new generation of gamers who probably never would have seen the game in the first place. Let's face it, the Super Nintendo is very old. People hear about top 10 lists and top 100 SNES games. The reality is probably nobody was going to go back and buy Super Mario RPG, get a Super Nintendo, and actually play the game. The fact it's not on Nintendo Switch Online yet is kind of criminal, but you can get it on the SNES Classic, which is pretty neat. This is a faithful remake, guys. Probably one of the best ever that I can think of. When I saw that they were actually remaking this game, I was kind of worried that they would, you know, screw around with it too much, make it too easy, make it too modern, you know, just kind of ruin it. But it so feels at home. Like when I played this game through to completion, it was like I was playing the old SNES game. I never skipped a beat. 100 super jumps are now actually possible. I actually did several guides on it. I broke it down. I had the time, I had everything. A lot of people got some great help. I'm really happy to see that, you know, I was able to help people out with that. The portability advantage. Wait, what? Nope, I guess I can do that on the old one, so I don't have to worry about that. Haha. Now we gotta talk about the cons, guys. It's an expensive game. Let's face it. We paid, you know, $80 Canadian basically for this game. It's not cheap for a remake. Faithful Remake is also a con, believe it or not. The fact that they didn't go too far outside of the box kind of made it for people that already played the game a little bit more flat. You know, a dopamine rush. I really enjoyed the game. But let's face it, I already knew what was coming. I already knew Pearls was the password on the ship. Sorry if it's spoilers. I would say that's also easier than the original Untold Post game. Upright, you know, all the bosses are basically easier. The fact you can have 5 characters swap in, the fact you have the triple tech moves, it does make the game a bit easier. And the fact that super jumps are a bit easier as well, it definitely makes it easier to land that high DPS. It does hold your hand a little bit more than the SNES game. That's both good and bad, but I have to put it in the con aspect because the prompts coming up constantly kind of screw me up for my timing. Sure, every now and then it'll help, and it eventually cuts off, but more often than not, I found myself being a little bit annoyed with it. We have to talk about the physics for Queen Valentina. Her boobs, for lack of a better word, not moving. You know what? She must have a better support bra now. I guess the technology has improved. Alright, so now we gotta talk about the SNES, guys. The Super Nintendo, Super Famicom. Nostalgia. You can't put a price on nostalgia. Going back and playing that game just like you played it back in the day is just something about it. It's an incredible game. The isometric angle, the colorful graphics, the amazing music, everything about this game just top of the line at the time. The isometric graphics too, being used in such an effective way, was so cool. Even when you go into your battles and you see this, like, you know, isometric angle and you're looking down at the enemy and just the way everything looks, it was just so clean. I loved it. Timed hits was very groundbreaking at the time. I can't think of another game that actually had it. And the fact that it was so simplistic, you know, press A to block, press A to do your extra attack. But based on your weapon, that really changed your timed hits. It was really cool. It also used the SA1 chip on the card, which really allowed for amazing effects. Absolutely incredible effects. I'm thinking about Genoflash. Just mind-blowing stuff. And then you got the Dark Star attack. I loved it. One of the pros as well, guys, is that it actually came with the SNES Classic. So cheapest way to get the game, honestly, if you're not emulating, you're not ROM dumping, of course, your legal copy, it would be on the SNES Classic for sure, which is an incredible device. Comes with 21 games, 2 controllers, absolutely fantastic if you can find one. The SNES had better names, folks. Frogfucius and Mac versus Frog Sage and Clay Morton. Maybe I can give a little bit of an edge to Clay Morton. That's pretty original. I kind of like that. But there's something about Mac. It made no sense, and that's why I love it. Boob Jiggle for Queen Valentina. When I first saw this back in the day, I laughed and giggled. I was just a young boy, and when I saw these, you know, she basically looked like Pamela Anderson, and you just see the boob shaking when you hit her. It was so funny at the time. Cons. You know what? One of the cons as well is the fact that the graphics have aged a bit. It's you know, it's definitely not up to today's caliber. You look back on it, it's great sprite work. The reality is it's a little bit dull in places. Some areas look better than others. Overall, the graphics, you know, they're really good, but they have aged a bit, no doubt. The controls when jumping are funky, especially in Nimbus Land. Good luck jumping on those beanstalks, man. 100 super jumps, guys, almost impossible on the SNES version. Even with a CRT with remotely no lag, it's really damn hard, and I recommend you just skip the super suit on the SNES version. It's an expensive game as well if you're buying physical. You can probably expect to do a battery swap as well. It's getting pretty old, and that battery is probably going to have to be swapped. If it has the original saves, you can guarantee you're getting in there and you're going to have to do some soldering. And that really weighs it all up to a conclusion here, guys. If you never played the SNES version of the game, I cannot see any reason other than nostalgia to go back. Maybe you're curious. The Switch version of Super Mario RPG is the superior version, with great quality of life upgrades, while being a near one-to-one recreation of one of the best RPGs on the Super Nintendo, which was certainly known for some absolutely timeless RPGs, and still my favorite system ever made. Let's hope for a follow-up title, because now that Star Road is fixed, wishes can finally come true.